Hey everybody! Hey! Welcome back! Welcome back to the Two Dum Yinzers. This is episode 139. It feels like it's been forever since we talked to you, but here we are on our special time. This is our special time. This is for the
Yes.
final cuts of the Pittsburgh Steelers down to the 53-man roster. So we are here doing special things today with you. You know what? It's been crazy. We haven't seen you. I see you. Yes, and I even see you back there. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome
Yes.
back to the special episode. How you doing, Michael?
Oh, I'm just excited to be back recording after yesterday's debacle. Our buddy Trox was on. He had he's been having computer issues. He comes on, all of a sudden I have car issues.
Yes.
Little suspicious. I think he was mad just because the Steelers won, beat the Lions.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, but it was just comical, the timing, how everything coincided.
It sure did. But it does. It feels great to be back.
It does.
A little bit after 6 o'clock here on Tuesday afternoon. Of course, everybody, the NFL cutoff deadline for the cuts to make it down to your final 53 players was 4 o'clock today. So we are 2 hours into the Steelers having their final 53 guys. They're ready to go. The next step after this is get ready for the Bengals.
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me. There's going to be a couple more moves going on because I think tomorrow is everyone's on, like, people have been outright cut, but there's also been players that have been waived and teams can claim them, and teams are putting claims in right now. So once those claims go through the league and they figure out, who gets what player, rosters are going to shake up even more. So this is
don't go to bed so disturbed tonight that you can't sleep.
Yeah.
Henry Mondu will more than likely be back on our practice squad in the next couple of days. Guys that's been here for a few years, that they know the team, that they just had to cut some guys.
Yeah.
They'll probably be back on the practice squad in the next couple of days. So,
like, Marcus Allen. He's been on. They love him. He can play safety, inside linebacker. He's one of those guys that got cut. I think he's going to end up back on the practice squad.
Absolutely.
And Mondu.
What do you think about McFarland, Mike?
I'm kind of disappointed about that one, because he showed, like, the last two preseasons, he's shown the flashes that he has that burst, and he's not afraid to run up the middle too. He's not just an outside the runner guy. He has some return ability, but I think it was just it was a numbers game. I know a lot of people don't like Benny Snell, but what he brings on special teams, that weighs a lot. He can play on special teams, not just he's not a returner, but he will go out there. He's making those tackles. He's playing that role like Darius Hayward-Bay played as a wide receiver.
Absolutely.
So it wasn't. I wasn't that shocked that he made it. I was hoping they would carry 4 running backs, because running backs get hurt. That's a position where people get hurt. We found out
Jaylen Warren helped make that decision. This guy, everything that I've seen so far in him, he's been a beast. I'm satisfied with him.
Yeah.
So
it wouldn't surprise me if McFarland does come back onto the practice squad.
Yeah,
I can see another team picking him up too.
He'd be one of the guys. He's one of the 3 to 5 guys that I could see, possibly coming on their way back for the practice squad.
And remember, practice squad is 16 players now.
Yeah, right.
So there's a lot of room.
And you're just one play away from being on the 53 man.
Yeah, and there's the Raiders waived one of their first round draft picks from a couple of years ago, the left tackle that Steeler fans are just wanting to sign, but he's been up and down in his career, so you never know if he gets claimed. Roche, the outside linebacker we drafted last year in the 6th round, we tried to sneak through on waivers. He was waived by the Giants, so maybe he might be coming back. And will he make the practice squad, or are they going to be another move to put him in on outside linebacker? And plus, the trades we had today, we haven't even. There's so much to talk about. This is insane.
Yes.
4 minutes in, and there's just a billion things to talk about.
Absolutely. Let me just give you some of the offensive linemen just to start off at our Achilles heel. Let me give you some of the offensive linemen that didn't make the cut. So these guys are the worst of the worst. William Dunkel, he got released. Adrian Ely, the guy that we just signed from Baltimore about a week ago, released. Chaz Green, John LeGlue, Ryan McCollum, or who I have on my offensive lineman cut sheet from today.
Haig was cut.
Buddy?
Was it Haig?
Oh yeah, Haig got cut.
Yeah, like LeGlue and Haig were the two that surprised me. But I know like LeGlue had one of them had like a $2 million somewhat salary cap hit. But LeGlue played well last year. Okay, adequate. I would say adequate. He was a step above Kendrick Green, and Kendrick Green being a 3rd round pick, he was, people wanted him cut after 1 year in a second training camp. So he's not looking that good. And I thought LeGlue would have been the one to he filled in last year adequately. So why not keep him?
Absolutely.
But we added another offensive lineman.
Let's talk about this. Jesse Davis. Now, he was a journeyman offensive lineman. He played for the Dolphins for 5 years. He also spent minimal amount of times with Seattle, the New York Jets, and the Vikings, which he managed to get cut from all those teams. We traded him for a conditional 7th round pick in the 2025 draft. Mr. Davis is a 6'6", 318-pound offensive lineman. You have a little bit of insight on him, don't you?
Yeah, he. I was just looking at the numbers after he got traded. He gave up 8 sacks last year, and
he played 16 to 17 games last year, 92% of the snaps.
Yeah, but still, that's a sack every other game. That's not good.
Yeah,
that's not good. Quarterback pressures were kind of high too. I noticed a lot of fans are saying he's the guy who got Tua's ribs broke. He blew the block that caused Tua to break his ribs. It was not last year, I think the year before. Might have been last year before. But yeah, so he's not well regarded by the Vikings fan base nor the Dolphins fan base. But you never know. You never know what happened. We don't have a great. Our offensive line is not that great. So this guy's not that great. He kind of fits right in.
We don't need anybody that fits in.
I know, but Trey Essex, he tweeted out, he's like, what do you guys expect? It's not like Quentin Nelson, one of the best offensive linemen, and Trent Williams, one of the best tackles in the NFL. It's not he's like those guys were cut. You're gonna get what you get at this point. But you're kind of hoping Colbert would have done something better in free agency.
There's just no quick fix to this offensive line. This is going to be our problem. And we're going to go as far as this offensive line takes us, unfortunately.
Yeah. We saw that against the Lions, man.
Yeah.
When I was listening to the game on the radio, I had a lot of driving to do that night. And Wolfley was like, what happened to this offensive line after 2 preseason games? That first game, they had combined 110 rushing yards throughout the game. All, first, second, third, fourth team offensive lines did well. Then they just were terrible that second game, and they're even worse this game. It's going to be a long, long season.
And unfortunately, this is against Seattle. This is against Jacksonville, and this is against Detroit. We're going to see such different looks when we face Baltimore, when we face New England, when we face Cincinnati. I just shudder to think, Mike, that we got less than 2 weeks till the Bengals game.
Yeah.
What's the game plan? Unless Mike Tomlin has some crazy magic up his sleeve.
Yeah.
A lot of people are getting pumped up for the Cincinnati game, rightfully so. It is the season opener.
Yeah.
However, you could see a game like this getting out of hand pretty early, because here's the thing: a team like that could just sling the ball around. They have all these amazing receivers. You have to keep up with that kind of game. And the fact of the matter is, we just don't have the hogs up front to protect our quarterback to play that kind of game. We might be able to get so far and get a field goal, go typical old school Steelers, which is fine if you're not playing a team that's able to put up 40 points any given night.
Yeah. And we saw all 3 quarterbacks. I'm going to keep hammering this point, but it was just preseason, but they were making some pretty throws, tight window throws. So, and the receivers were making great catches. Deontay, Calvin, or not Calvin. Who am I thinking of? Claypool and Pickett. or Pickens were making great catches, and Tyler Vaughn, who just got cut, was making great catches too. And Boykin, and then you go to the tight ends, they were making great catches. So you can see they have that ability on the offense to be one of those teams that can move the ball down the field and put up points. But it goes back to what you were just saying. Those hogs up front, man. It's like we got piglets, man. We don't got the hogs. We don't got Russ Grimm and the boys coming out here. We got Mason Cole and Kendra Green and Chooks
all the way home.
Yeah, it's I think that's what we're going to call them from now on. They're going to be the piglets, and they prove us wrong, and I hope they do prove us wrong.
And like I had said, Mike, earlier when I was talking to you today, I think all the pieces are in place on this team, with the exception of that offensive line. I could you imagine? Look at the good numbers that all three of these quarterbacks put up in the preseason. Yeah. Could you imagine if we had a semi-decent line, what their numbers would look like?
Yeah. And God, just imagine what that would do to the running game, because teams know they can stop the run because how bad the line is, and they know they can put pressure on the quarterback because how bad the line is. So
that's what I'm saying.
It's like you really can't hide them because they're not good in one area. If they were good at run blocking, okay, you can do run, play action, catch them off balance. If they're good in pass protection, okay, you pass, then run to throw them up, but they're not good at either one to hide, to mask their deficiencies. It's going to be a long season for the quarterbacks and the running backs.
You can't have against this a Bengals team. I assume they're going to come out on fire. And let's just say our defense does do a pretty good job, because our defense is pretty damn good. I think we could all admit to that. However, we can't do the 3-out punt, 3-out punt, 3-and-out punt, 3-and-out punt all game. At some point, we have to be able to move the ball. At some point, we have to be able to put points on the board. And like I said, this has potential to be a 30-3 game at halftime. That's just not talk. That's just not crazy. I've seen these kind of things. Again, what are you going to do? We come out and run. We can't run. We try to pass. We can't pass. We kick the ball to them. They drive down the field in 4 plays, score a touchdown. We come out again the next drive, another 3-and-out. They get the ball, bring it down. Like I said, this has potential.
That happened. That was both games last year, wasn't it? At least the first game against the Bengals, it was defense couldn't stop them. The offense couldn't put points out because of how bad the offensive line was.
It's not the flow that you want in an NFL football game by any means. And like I said, it's very unfortunate because we do have all the other positions, I feel, in place. These five little pigs, these five little piglets are going to be what keeps us lower than 500, possibly missing the playoffs. These five are the big problem.
Yeah. I'm still a little like the D line, I'm going to come off as a Cam Hayward here, but he can control the line. Like when he's on, he can control that line, run it for a run defense. But we saw last year against the Lions and the Bengals, when he wasn't on and when the other pieces around him weren't on either, they were getting pushed 15, 30 yards downfield. But I'm thinking the additions now of the D tackle from Cincinnati, because I'm not going to butcher his name.
Okay.
Yeah, we know. I realized like the last couple episodes I've been saying his name completely wrong. I saw it. Yeah, I saw it written down. I'm like, ooh, dude, you butchered that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think with him and Nose, Aluwalu in there and Wormley rotating at the ends, replicating something close to what Tuitt used to do in the end. I think the defensive line is going to be an improvement this year. Because if that's the case, then like you said, all the other pieces are in place. You just have to worry about that offensive line. Because last year was the O-line and D-line. D-line, like they would put up numbers, but they would get run against a lot. So hopefully this year, with a healthier off or D-line and a more better players at the nose, and at the end, I think it's going to be a solid line.
You want to prove you're one of the best in the league. You want to prove you're the best in the league, Cam Hayward. Go varsity and stop over on the other side of the ball and block some people.
Right. Play Iron Man.
If you can do that and fix this problem, I will have no problem calling you the best.
You would definitely trump Aaron Donald.
Yes.
See, and that's
you're
like
not
the other
people over the head with helmets. So you got
you got that going for you, Cam. I give you credit for that. You're not out there trying. Well, he did punch. Didn't he punch or kick someone in the jibs last year? One of the quarterbacks tried to castrate him.
I don't recall. Maybe.
Kick someone in the balls or try to kick him there. He did something a little shady, but he only did it once, where, my man Aaron Donald is trying to collect, people's helmets as trophies a lot. But I think that's also going to, like the Bengals, the last time anyone saw them, like the last 2 times they've made like national headlines in the sports world, losing the Super Bowl and then Aaron Donald assaulting them.
Yeah.
They have that extra fire, I think. I'm not big, like, motivation of like players saying something about you from another team. I think the way they performed, like those 2 things right there, they're gonna come out wanting to prove a point. Like, no, that's not us. Not us losing the Super Bowl the way we did, us being embarrassed at that joint practice. I think they're gonna come out fired up on that to prove to the football world that no, we're not those bungles. We are the Bengals now, and let's get
brand new white helmets. Got the new white helmets.
Yeah, I'm kind of. I want to see what those look like on TV.
Yeah,
in high def.
It looks like the generic food boxes. You remember when we were kids and everything that was generic came in the white box, the black lettering.
Yeah, it's like the Walmart brand, man. Yeah, it's the great value helmet.
Yes. But you know what? I'm mixed on that. I think that the Bengals do have potential of falling back to be the Bungles. However, I feel the same way that you do. I think they're going to come out red hot. They have stuff to prove. You just lost the Super Bowl. You want to prove that you're worthy, and it wasn't just a fluke. And on the other hand, with the embarrassment of getting beat up by a guy with helmets, in your joint practice, I think this team's going to come out on all cylinders. You're playing in front of your home crowd, opening day, new uniform, and new helmets. The Pittsburgh Steelers, who are struggling in obvious areas, they want to come out and make a statement in week 1.
And like the Bengals, though, like this final thing about them real quick is, they're not going to be able to sneak up on anyone this year. Whereas last year they were able to sneak up. Like Jamar Chase, he had that terrible preseason where he just dropped everything. People were like laughing at him, saying he was a bust, and had one of the greatest rookie receiver years ever. Burrows came back from the knee injury. So they're not going to be able to sneak up on people. People are going to give them their A game this year. But I think this is going to be a damn good year for them.
We're going to stay on the offensive side of the ball for another 10 minutes or so here.
Yes.
Max Borgi gets released. Tight ends, obviously, the big 3 we keep. Gentry, Fryermuth, and Hayward. Kevin Rader and Sternberger both released. Wide receivers, Mike, Cody White, Tyler Vaughns, Tyler Snead. I didn't even see Snead on the field, to be honest with you. I'm not very
I know the name. I know the name. I just can't remember if he had any catches or if he did anything.
I remember Snead's elsewhere, and this brings the question to me: what's the case for Calvin Austin III? I mean, obviously
he's on the team.
He's on the team. He didn't get a snap in preseason. Maybe, just maybe, they said, you know what? Let's nurse this injury a little bit, play it safe, come out and use him as a secret weapon to an extent. People haven't seen him. People were sitting back and looking at players from tape of the preseason. You never seen him. You didn't see him last year, obviously. So maybe he's kind of a little trick up Tomlin's sleeve until, in fact, he gets in there and does some big things. But as far as the receivers goes, I mean, we got the guys that we expected that to keep, right?
Yeah. I'm hoping Vaughn can make it through waivers. I don't know if he was like wavered or outright cut. I'm hoping that he can come back onto the practice squad. It's because what he did, when he had playing time, he made plays. He was everyone's security blanket. He was like Pickett's security blanket in that first game. He was Mason's security blanket in that. Pickett's in the first game, Mason's in the second game. This guy was making plays, so I hope he can come back and make it down to the practice squad. And Calvin Austin, I don't know if he's good because he can't go onto the PUP list. The injury reserve list, I know you can put, I think, a limited amount of players on there and they can come back after X amount of games.
I think he's okay.
I'm hoping he's okay. Because you have 53 guys, 48 play. So it wouldn't surprise me if he's a healthy cut for a while until he gets healthy. I'm liking this receiving core.
Like I said, I'm not convinced that they didn't hold him back. You know what? We know what Calvin Austin could do. Perhaps he practices to some extent. I think that they probably wanted to baby his ankle a little bit, which probably is the worst idea. So what's the receiver depth list? Mike, give us the depth list for our Pittsburgh wide receivers, man.
I don't have the official one because I don't know if they released one yet, but I'm just going by how it was in the preseason. It's Johnson, Claypool, and then Pickens. Then after that, it's going to be, I wouldn't surprise me if it goes Gunner, then Boykins, and then Sims is going to be your return man.
Yeah.
And I can see, depending on like down scenario, like, down and distance situations like that, where you sub in Boykins and Gunner. Because Gunner's more that they've been doing a lot of reverses with them, little screens and little short quick passes. And Boykin's been more of a like mid-range and deeper depth kind of threat. So it's going to be those guys scoring situation. But your top three are going to be Deontay, Claypool, and Pickens. And that's God. Imagine you put Pickens in the slot. You could put they're running Claypool in the slot. That dude big in the slot, he's just going to tear up those little slot corners.
And if there's ever a moment in this season when we can actually go to a open back set, with your 5 linemen and a whole shitload of receivers out there, there's just going to be so much talent on that field. And my thing is Gunner is going to be underused because of, just like I said, the people ahead of him on the depth chart. This guy has abilities to make big plays. He has abilities to make the Wes Welker type plays, the Julian Edelman plays, get in the slot, that fast guy, quick hit, which I think that we're going to have to resort to a lot of the time because you're not going to be able to stand back in the pocket and try to wait for Johnson, Claypool, and Pickens to finish out their patterns. It's going to be out of the backfield. It's going to be tight ends. It's going to be Gunner in that slot. I think he has he has big upside. Gunner has huge upside.
Yeah, the way he was used in the preseason, I like it. And God, I'm expecting big things out of the top 3. It's just going to be, or they're going to be, I don't want to keep harping on the O-line, but it's going to come down to them. And then after that, it's going to come down like you only got one football on the field at a time. So you're going to have to spread it out to 3 of them. And like those top, like at least for Deontay and Claypool, they haven't shown that diva attitude of like, I'm not getting enough looks. I'm not getting enough touches. So I think that's going to be fine with them. Like the way everything's distributed, we're not going to have like an AB situation where he needs to get his at least 5 catches and 50 yards
every time,
or whatever that fake record that he had. I don't think there is that diva attitude on this team anymore.
That's what I'm saying. As long as you have that group of receivers who have confidence in themselves as a core, opposed to as a player like AB or even Juju to an extent, you have a group of core receivers that believe in each other and they feel that they're the best core group of receivers in the league. That seems to be the group that does the best. Yeah.
And then, oh man, we haven't even touched on the tight end group yet. This is
no. Go ahead in the tight ends, Mike.
Pat Freiermuth, he had a really good rookie campaign. He probably would have finished up with better, he would have finished up better numbers, but he was hurt for a little bit. God, I think him and the tight end down in Atlanta, the second-year pro, God, his name's slipping my mind right now. He's a really good tight end. I think those two are going to have a battle throughout the years of who's going to be the better tight end. Gentry was coming on making key catches last year. He didn't have great numbers, but they were, when you go and look at the play sheet, when they were made, they were key moments that, Ben, 2-time Super Bowl winner, future Hall of Famer, trusted this guy with. So he's proven that, he can, if you get that kind of respect from that kind of a veteran, these other 3 quarterbacks that we have, when they're in there, they know if he's in there, he's another capable person we can throw to that a lot of defenses will overlook. Because once you get down to someone like Zach Gentry, your second tight end, after you go through all these wide receivers, then Freiermuth, then Najee, I think he's going to have some pretty key catches. His stat lines at the end of the year is not going to look great, but individual games, key situations, I think he's going to be that clutch guy that you need, like on every roster. You need that guy that's Doesn't have the standout numbers, but is there when you need him. And I think he's going to be that guy. And then Connor Hayward, he's showed flashes. And if he can keep improving, I think he will be a steal as a 6th, 7th round draft pick.
Yeah.
I was kind of against the pick because I only saw him that one game in college. Didn't hear a whole lot about him other than that he was Cam's brother. So like, is he just making it through on like a nepotism type thing? But once you watch him play, my man has some talent. I'm actually excited for a Hayward. So watch him suck.
I don't think you could go wrong. We have a real nice set of tight ends, Mike. I think you made point to Ben just being a Hall of Famer last year. There's just sometimes you go to the unsung guy in certain situations because there's a good chance he's going to be open because of the other things going around on the field. So I think him dropping down to that second tight end on a lot of his reads was a big time veteran move. But like I said, Mike, I can't really sit here. I mean, we can, but you have a decent set of receivers. You got a pretty good set of tight ends. Your running back has potential to be one of the best in the league. I mean, all seriousness.
And a lot of people like pundits are thinking he can be up there, the top 5 in rushing.
And they, and here's the thing, it's always going to come down to that offensive line, and we hate to keep harping on it, but this will be the thing this season that just poo-poos everybody's expectations of this team. These quarterbacks, they have to feel comfortable back there. They have to have time. They have to have trust in their line. They have to have timing. Timing is huge, especially with pattern, pattern running. I wish the offensive line was just a little bit better. But like everybody else, I'm kind of it's 6:30, Mike. Let's punt the ball away. Let's go over to defense. Presley booms it. He booms this punt like 70 yards. The defense, Mike, we lose. Who do we lose? Give me some key names on defense.
We lost Marcus Allen. He's, they love him in that little spot right there. I don't have the list in front of me, but God, your boy Kazee, he's hurt. He made the 53-man roster, so he might go on IR. Like cuts though, Henry Mondew, that was kind of a surprise because he filled in pretty well. The Davis brothers, Khalil and Carlos Davis were cut from the D line. I think a lot of those though is just that depth. There's that D line's improved a whole lot. So those guys, that was just a numbers game. Linebackers, I was surprised Buddy Johnson was cut. Like I noticed online, like a lot of people were too, because they're like, hey, he showed flashes, but it's a numbers game. Hopefully he can make it through and comes back on the practice squad. From the secondary, the biggest one I noticed was Justin Lane.
Yeah,
he kind of, this is his 4th year. He was improving, but did he have an interception in the playoffs? I can't remember.
In the preseason. I'm sorry.
An interception in the preseason, yeah. But look at the corners. I know we're going to go position by position, but we're talking by them right now. Do you mind if I go corners right now?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Cam Sutton, Akilah Witherspoon, Levi Wallace, all 3 had really good camps, really good preseasons. And after that, they really like Arthur Millette and James Pierre. So it was a numbers game right there.
And other, secondary players, safety Elijah Riley, defensive back Chris Steele, DB Lyndon Stevens, a couple other people that got cut to make room for 53. I'm not worried about our secondary. I think our secondary is good. I think we did what we had to do. Of course, like you said, some of these names that they've been just common names on the Pittsburgh Steelers, like your Henry Mondew, your who's the safety you just said, Lane. I think a couple of these guys are going to be coming back. A couple of these guys are going to make it through waivers, and a couple of these guys will be on this practice squad, and you're not going to miss them all that much because I believe they will be back soon.
It wouldn't surprise me that if Justin Lane gets picked up by another team that needs a corner, because he's nothing great. He's serviceable. I think we might lose. It wouldn't surprise me if we lose Carlos Davis to another team. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets picked up elsewhere. For the guys that were cut.
I like the Davis boys. I just thought, wow, you know what? I'm kind of glad that this brotherly love thing is kind of weeding itself out.
I know. It's fun to talk about for a game, but every game you watch, it gets hammered down your throat.
Yeah. It gets tiring. We got bigger fish to fry here. It's all fun. Davis boys, Edmonds boys, which that also got dismantled. Yeah. But like I said, it's time to talk football. And and it is what it is. Hamilcar Rashed, the linebacker.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised about that, but keep going with the linebackers. We got some news there.
Rondell Carter, Buddy Johnson, Rashed.
That was a surprise.
Delonte Scott, and James Vaughters are the linebackers that I have here in front of me. But Mike, let's talk about some of the linebackers that we do have.
Yes.
TJ Watt. Highsmith, Jack.
Yep.
Robinson.
Mark Robinson. I
think he's gonna. What Robinson reminds me of? He reminds me of one of these players that's just gonna get damn good.
Just improve.
Yes. He just, you see these guys that are drafted low, or far along in the draft, then you see these other guys who don't get drafted at all, and they're not having a pretty damn good season. I get that vibe from Robinson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he has he's a natural athlete, like all these guys are, but he played running back, and then they asked him to go play linebacker in college last year, and first year he had over 100 tackles, and he's proven he has a nose for the ball. He showed it in the games that he played, and people are saying, he kind of reminds him of that Vince Williams.
Yeah.
And he was
and
just,
Vince
he was nothing flashy, but he was that solid presence.
A lot of people on the Steelers are saying that, if it's, okay, here's the thing. Steelers are generally going to say good things about the guys around them, whether they are or they're not going to make the team, but there's the guys they go on and on about. Mm-hmm. And Robinson being one, and a lot of people comparing him to the Vince Williams and that style and that, like you said, that presence.
Yeah.
I like Robinson a lot. Keep your eye on him.
I think he might be a more athletic Vince Williams.
Yeah,
I think he might be faster. He played running. He has some speed there. I'm glad to see he made the team, and I think if Spillane and Bush start slipping, he's right there to fill in next to Miles Jack. And I think if you have your linebacking core starters of Watt, Highsmith on the outside, we have another candidate there too. We'll talk about it here in a second. But then on inside with Miles Jack and Mark Robinson, I think that's nice. That's a nice little linebacking core.
Yeah.
And the Steelers they need to stop being afraid of playing rookies. Absolutely. Let him out there, let him learn on the job. If he's at least running to the ball, willing to take hits, willing to take on blockers, willing to shed blockers, let the kid play.
Yeah. But you mentioned another offensive lineman. This gentleman, Mike,
linebacker.
Linebacker. What did I say?
You said offensive lineman.
I can't get the line out of my head.
I know.
Linebackers we got today from the Broncos, outside linebacker Malik Reed, 6-year-old. We got him for a 2023 6th-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we got a 7th-round pick in that draft. He's a 6'5", 235-pound outside linebacker. He was undrafted. His high in a season was 8 sacks in the 2020 season. Last year, he had 5 sacks and 2 forced fumbles. In 3 seasons with the Broncos, he got 15 sacks, 123 tackles, 15 of them for loss, 3 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries.
Yeah. One of those fumbles and sacks was against Big Ben.
Yeah. So,
bastard at the time. No, he's cool.
What Highsmith is doing.
Mm-hmm.
But, you look at this guy's numbers. I really like what he's doing.
Yeah. He had 33 games played, 13 sacks total. Yeah. He's approaching a sack every other game, half a sack a game. That means he's getting to the quarterback, causing pressure, causing havoc back there. And that's a nice little. I like him. I like that pick. I saw that and I saw the stats, and Broncos fans were kind of upset that he got traded away, but I think it was more like a salary cap type thing, or other players are kind of pushing him out. But just on paper, he looks good. And
absolutely,
it's better outside depth than Derek Tuska.
Yeah.
So I like that right there. I think, if he can play both sides, if when TJ takes his normal breaks.
So I mean, today
sucking air, but no, I'm joking about that. But no, I think he'd be in if Highsmith can't produce the way we want him to. We got this guy right here, and maybe that helps push Highsmith to, improve.
Yeah.
And if there's nothing wrong if I wouldn't have a problem, doing a rotation of those two on the opposite Watt, because whoever's opposite Watt, you're hoping they're going to get single covered or single block, right, and you hope they can beat them. So I like this pickup. It was a really good pickup.
So one thing you got to remember, everybody, just look at these two guys, Malik Reed from the Broncos and Jesse Davis from the Dolphins earlier today. That just kind of gives you a little insight on what can still happen as people start making it through the waivers. We could find a player, we could find a diamond in the rough. We could kind of keep an eye on who's moving around the waivers, and and hopefully be able to pick a little bit of spackle out to put some holes in this wall that is our line. But I did too. Like, I like the Malik Reed pick. I think that was big. I think that's big, man.
I did too. And you're giving up a 6th round, getting 7th back. So and then you give up that conditional on the offensive lineman. So even if that offensive lineman doesn't pan out, you don't really lose that 7th round pick. So they have I think they have 5-6 draft picks left this year, but that's something to worry about in the future. But I like to move at least, Omar Collins, he recognized hey, we have holes that need filled, and I'm willing to trade for him. And hey, at least there are, there isn't him, like Colbert was the same way. Notice something, go out, see what's out there, get what you can get, and see if it works. If it doesn't, that's fine. We'll move on to something else.
And we spoke a lot early, Mike, about the defensive line depth. And as I'm watching the preseason wrap up the other day, most of the game, your starters play, and they do get spelled every once in a while, as you mentioned. So I mean, I'm not as worried about that, because, like I said, you could strategically patch those positions while you're giving people breaks, and just the different packages you have. You're going to be able to cover every thing that you're going to have to. Not so worried about the defensive depth anymore. I'm kind of excited. I thought the defense was very, very strong looking in the last preseason game. Again, you can't lay all your chips in the preseason.
Yeah.
But you get an idea. And like I said, every time that our starting defensive players run the field, we didn't really give up much.
Yeah. And I'm looking at this defensive line now. I got the roster in front of me, and I'm talking myself into them.
Yeah.
Because you got Larry Ogunjobi. I got the name right here. Got it right this time, I hope. Cam Hayward, Chris Wormley, Tyson Alualu, Montravius Adams, who filled in admirably last year when we brought him in to play nose tackle off of, I think we got him Chicago's practice squad. So once again, once practice squads are set, look, we found a guy who started halfway through the year last year. And then Isaiah Loudermilk, he was a late round pick last year. He's slowly developed as the year went on. He's developing more. And then DeMarvin Leal.
Yeah. Expecting big thing from him.
He was flashing, because he was one of our 4th round picks, right? 3rd, 4th round pick. Yeah. So he was flashing. He has potential. And he might be one of those guys that, doesn't get a hat every game, but when he does, I expect, that when he's filling in for one of the ends, I expect him to make plays, because he was putting the film out there. You got a moth flying around.
What's that?
I saw a moth fly around. I'm having PTSD because at work we have so many moths flying in because our doors are open to the outside and it's dark out, all the lights there. I get them smacking in my face. So if you see me twitching, that's why I'm having flashbacks.
I do. I'm confident. I think that our defense is going to be just fine at this point. There's no big red flags.
Yeah.
They were able to shore up what they did. And like I said, once you make the roster moves, this is what you have left. This is the defense that I want. These guys that we have.
Yeah, I'm liking it.
The let's see. So like you said, the Davis brothers or Carlos and Khalil on defensive line, Henry Mondu, Donovan Jeter, the nose tackle. He is actually from right down the road here. He grew up here and went to high school here before he went off to Michigan. Big fan. I wish him nothing but the best. He did get cut today. Never know. You might see him back. You might not. But I hope Donovan the best. I hope whatever happens and whatever he does.
You know, wouldn't surprise me if he makes it practice squad here or somewhere else. And hey, if he doesn't, if he keeps in shape, working out, we see this all the time. Street free agents get picked up out of nowhere and, you know, play for a couple of years.
These are names that you're probably not going to see much more of anywhere wearing black and gold, with the exception of one or a couple guys may make their way back. So that's your list right there. Also, Carlins Platel, is that how you say Carlins Platel? He was waived. He was injured.
Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah,
he's also on the list there. So again, I don't. My list seems to be about 98% complete for whatever reason.
Because it kept updating throughout the day. Like I'm hoping like the snapshot that I have of the roster is the actual 53-man roster. Nothing has changed since then.
Yeah.
But it came from the actual Steelers themselves. So I'm hoping it's accurate.
I mean, a lot of these I'm looking above and you're seeing, the tweets, the reactions.
I saw one that someone's like, man, after today, you think 71% of the players cut should be a Steeler. Like everyone gets cut. Oh, let's sign them. I want to talk about the safeties real quick.
Yeah.
I'm liking this group. Minka. Well, that's all you need to know. You got Minka. Edmonds. Everyone, saying he was a reach and a bust. Look at him improve year over year over year. I think we're solid there with those two. Then Trey Norwood. My God, sixth round pick last year. He was just making plays when he was out there. Like when he was out there, very rarely you noticed him for doing something wrong. So if he can take the next step, because he was playing all over the place. I seen him line up in the slot, line up at, in the different safety spots. I like that. Miles Killebrew, great special teams. And then DeMonte Kazee, hopefully, he can, the way they kept him on the roster, they didn't immediately put him on that IR. So wouldn't surprise me. Next couple of days, he goes on the IR. We bring in another safety. Might bring back in Marcus Allen because he can play. He started at safety. Or there might be someone else out there we get to fill in until Kazee can come back. And he was making plays before he got hurt. So that overall secondary, corners and safety, for the first time in a lot of years, I'm feeling good.
They got to really love Kazee.
Yeah, to do that for a player who's hurt like that.
Yeah. I don't like the move. I like him as a player. I like what he could do back there. He's a ball hawk. He gets there. He can make plays. But you're tying up a position for
not really, because he can go on IR and that frees up. We get another player back.
Yeah.
So, but I see what you're saying. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I just they better. I have to say they really must like him.
Yeah.
Me personally, I wouldn't have made that, but I'm not in that position to do so.
Yeah.
But I hope he comes back and does great things.
Me too. I've talked myself into this roster. This is scary.
Yeah, me too.
I know. I'm usually very pessimistic and try and keep an even keel. Well, special teams. No surprises there whatsoever.
Special teams got to be solid. They have to be solid. They have to be the backbone like they are on every good team. You can't have a guy that's inconsistent kicking the ball. You can't have a punter shanking the ball. I'm confident that this will be that backbone. I think between Boswell, Harvin, and
Christian Kuntz.
Yeah, I think that we're okay. They're going to be solid, and you need that.
Yeah, and
if you don't have that, and you're having problems elsewhere, you have a whole world of problems.
Yeah,
we can do those things well. That's big.
Yeah, and I have, Boz, he's going to make what, 95%, 97, 98% of his kicks.
Yeah. He
Harvin,
missed that one early in the preseason. Maybe he was getting it out of his system.
Yeah. He's got to make everyone a little twitchy every once in a while.
Yeah.
Harvin, for the most part.
Skyba packing. Boswell was lights out.
Yeah. He had that 1 year and that was it. But, Harvin, he bounced back huge this year. Hopefully, everything's well with the family. No one else is sick. Because that poor guy, my God, lost his grandfather, and then another, I think his dad was sick and lost him or something along those lines. It was like all year just dealing with all that. Yeah. So hopefully this year everything's great for him, because we saw what he can do when his mind is right. He was booming.
Mike? Who do you think's coming back? Who do you think will be on this practice squad in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail, Mike? Who right now, or do you just think he'll be back?
Mark Sallin.
Yeah.
They love him, and I love him. He went to Penn State. He won me some games. I love him. Whatever, if any of the Carlos brother or Davis brothers, excuse me, Carlos or Khalil, if one or both make it through, it wouldn't surprise me if 1 or 2 of those come back. Wouldn't surprise me if Mondu comes back.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me. Leglue, maybe, if he's free, if he's eligible, if he's practice squad eligible, if he can come back. The quarterback that we cut earlier in the week, if he's still available, wouldn't surprise me if they reach out to him to have him come back on the practice squad.
Yeah.
I'm hoping Tyler Vaughn. Oh God,
where does Sims fall into this whole thing?
Sims going to be one of the returners. He's on the team.
Is that his deal? They're going to be using him back here to return the kick?
Yeah, I think him and Gunner might be our 2 returners.
Yeah, I know people were high on Sims. I just didn't know if we had the spot for him, but he made the cut, man.
Yeah, he made the cut. I was surprised because I thought they would have Gunner back there doing all the returns. Yeah, but Sims is a kick returner and a punt returner, and so is Gunner. So hey,
I had such high anxiety and excitement for today, for this final cut. I actually woke up, Mike, from sleeping this morning after a dream that I was in the position to have to go look at the papers on the wall to see if my name was cut or wasn't cut. That's how excited I was about today. And it was the anxiety, everything that came with it. And I slowly went over, and it was just, but we are less than 2 weeks. Today's Tuesday, Mike, not this weekend, but the following weekend. We are kicking it off at Cincinnati. I can't wait, man. These are the things that are exciting for your team, because you get to follow who gets drafted, who gets signed, who gets traded, who gets cut. And now we're getting ready, Mike. The Bengals, they're game planning. They're sitting over in their facilities thinking, how can we put 8 people in this box to just overwhelm probably Mitch Trubisky, because that's going to be the game plan. And it's going to happen early, and it's going to happen often, and it's going to really be a tell situation for the Steelers, because you go into regular season and you just go blown out of the water. Really, the only way is up. Yeah. But if you can't fix the offensive line, I fear that that's going to be the problem this year. And I fear that that's going to keep us from being a team that we have the potential of being, because like we stated early in the show, that those other positions, those other pieces, they're all in place.
Yeah, they are. And just we have the potential to have one of the top 5, top 10 running backs in the league.
Yeah,
easily. And that line is going to come back and bite us. We have potential to have one of the best young receiving cores in the league. But that line, not giving our quarterbacks the time, because they've shown, all of them have shown how accurate they were in this preseason. And the receivers have shown what they can do. They've been making catches out of tight windows. They've been making catches while, tightly covered.
The receivers are certainly doing their part.
They are, there's been drops here and there, or batted balls away. That's going to happen with everyone. You would like to see them like maybe fight through them, but it's early. But all of them have shown, like the guys that are on the roster now have shown that they will do those combat catches. They will make that effort. So
yes,
they're going to have to, because I think everyone's just going to play aggressive against this team until that lineup proves that they can do one or the other, run block or pass block, because you got to do one. You at least have to do one to give the team a chance to win.
I think that if a team doesn't attack us, they would be a bad, poorly coached team, because this is what you have to do to beat the Steelers. And I think that a lot of teams that do, I'm looking at the schedule and I got the Bengals week 1, they're going to attack. The Patriots, you don't know which team you're going to get, but you do know that Bill Belichick is up there. He's a game plan expert. You got him week 2. You got the Browns week 3, who knows us just as good as the Bengals do. Not quite as talented, but that defense up in Cleveland ain't bad.
No. And like, Myles Garrett is licking his chops looking at the way Dan Moore's playing this year.
Yeah.
Because Dan Moore did a really good job against him last year. I think he gave up like 1 sack in 2 games or something like that.
Yeah, right.
He held his own against Myles Garrett. And he did not, Dan Moore did not look good this preseason. So, Myles Garrett's like, all right, look at my chops. If I get this version of this guy, it's going to be a long day for the offense.
I mean, that's week 1 through 3. Unfortunately, 2 of those are on the road. The 2 games in Ohio are in Ohio. Excuse me. The Patriots will be visiting us on week 2. Now, following that, the next 3 games that I have, Mike, you got the Jets coming to town, who's supposed to be much improved.
Yeah.
The Buffalo Bills on the road, and Tampa Bay at home. So, I mean, like I said, if we don't get this offensive line thing fixed and get it fixed fast, this is going to be a long season. I love the Steelers. I'll watch every game. However, this could be long, which is it's a shame. Yeah. Because, like I said, everything else is in place.
Yeah. Like, even like our quarterbacks, if they, you just need those guys to manage the game.
Yeah.
And I think all 3 can do that. But, if they're going to be running for their lives, or knowing that, hey, this team can't even run block, so they're going to sit back in coverage, it's going to be a long season.
I think the most frustrating part is this. We had an offensive line problem last year. Our franchise quarterback made a season of throwing dump-off passes, short passes, passes out of the backfield. The fact that we did very little, I'm not going to say the effort wasn't there, but the results certainly show that we did very little to fix this problem. Now you're putting one of these other 3 quarterbacks, one which is a rookie, one which been on the team for 5 years, he hasn't played much, and the other one being Mitch, who hasn't started for a couple of seasons. He was up in Buffalo for a while. You're putting these guys in a position that the franchise quarterback struggled in.
Yeah.
That is where I draw my conclusion that this is going to be a very, what's the word? Just stressful.
Ryan?
It's going to be so stressful.
Yes.
I think to watch this season play out, because of how things could be, but they're just not going to be. I can't see that happening. I can't see them overachieving. I can't see this overline achieving. However, if I'm wrong, I would be happy to admit that.
Yes, same here.
Just can't imagine this offensive line getting to the point to where we could be a competitive team week in, week out, against teams that game plan well, against teams that execute well, against teams that are expected to beat us, against teams that blitz well, against teams. Like I said, I just told you the first 6 games. And is there any game that you would think that would be a cakewalk for the Steelers in 06? To where it would make the situation a little bit not as difficult for us. Bengals on the road, Patriots, Browns on the road, new improved Jets, Bills on the road, Tampa Bay. We have to come out and play top-notch football against all 6 of these teams.
Yeah, and you want to talk about like stressful, like last year, 7 fourth quarter comeback victories, 7,
and that's
out of 8 wins. Hall of Fame
best all-time thrower of all time. had to come back in 7 of your 8 games.
Yeah.
This is where I'm drawing my conclusion. This is where I'm making my opinion. This is where I'm making my assessment. It's going to be tough, guys.
It is.
It's going to be tough.
I saw something, though. People were talking about like all the Ben's comebacks, and they were like, well, it's because he couldn't put any points up on the boards and let the defense played so tight, and defense bailed him out all game. If the defense was bailing him out all game, why would they come back victories?
Yeah, I mean,
but we're like, the team's not going to have that security blanket. The defense kind of knew last year they could take chances because we got 7. He's proven time and time again that if we, try to make that play to end the game and we get beat for a touchdown or a field goal, hey, we're going to give 7 the ball back and he's going to give us a chance to win.
Speaking of
they don't have that. No one has that security blanket this year.
Speaking of numbers of quarterbacks, how long is it going to take before you see that number 8 and number 10 and not think Maddox and Cordell?
I would love to have Cordell back.
Cordell's an old man now.
Well, I want Cordell in his prime. I want, when he was. I think he is. But I would. Oh God, imagine him in his prime playing in today's NFL.
Yeah, he was ahead of his time.
He was.
There was nobody like that. Even if you go to the Randall Cunningham prior to him, it still wasn't that style of quarterback. No, he was, but they never used him. He would run, but look at the numbers. I think that all those mobile quarterbacks, they just didn't get their due back then.
They didn't, because everyone wanted everyone to be a drop back. 5, 6, 7 step drop. 3, they wanted that 3, 5 step drop, 7 step drop. Nah, but
so there you have.
I would take a Cordell Stewart, Tommy Maddox type season out of these quarterbacks. So they each got us to the playoffs.
And who was a former number 2? Was Michael Vick number 2?
Michael Vick was number 2, I think. Remember that Mike Vick? I think we talked about that with Trucks. Mike Vick, Le'Veon Bell game in San Diego. Yeah. No, because Vic couldn't be 7. He had to be. I think he was number 2.
Yeah, so I mean, that's still too new. I guess Mason Rudolph reminds me of number 2. I don't know, but nonetheless, everybody, we are here. This is it. This is as close to the season as you're going to get without it being the season. Mm-hmm. These teams are right now in their facilities drawing up game plans. They're sitting around talking in classrooms with their teams, trying to decide what it is they're going to do to win football games. And you know what? It's here, everybody. I'm excited. I can't wait. Of course, you want your team to do well. And you know what? I believe. I don't want to come off as a Debbie Downer in this whole thing. I think the Steelers are going to do well. I think the Steelers are going to make the playoffs. And, maybe a little magic in there, like a shoestring tackle against Indianapolis in the second round after a fumble at the goal line by your sure running back. Maybe some kind of magic can happen. But as of right now, I'm as confident as I can be. You know where I stand, Mike. You know where I stand with my weaknesses. You know where I stand with my strength.
Yep.
I think ultimately the offensive line is going to be what keeps us from being a Super Bowl team. But I think this team has mad talent anyway. So hopefully we can get out there and win some football games, stay relevant, and man, like I said, you get in the playoffs, you never know. Like that, and I hate to keep bringing it up. That Colts game, we wasn't even supposed to be in the same stadium as the Colts were that year.
Yeah, we weren't in
Super Bowl 40.
We were at the 6th seed and won every game on the road.
And Indianapolis was
they were supposed to steamroll us. We got this second-year quarterback who's going to be exposed in every game in the playoffs.
Yes.
And look what happened.
You do the football gods, they do rain down upon you. So don't give up. We believe. The Steelers all the time, baby. That's our squad. We know the problems. You know the problems. Now we just got to sit back and hope that the guys could put it together. They got 2 weeks. It's crunch time. There's nothing that these guys are going to be doing on this offensive line except trying to improve, trying to figure things out, trying to build a cohesiveness, try to get better. And you know what? A week from this coming Sunday coming up is going to be opening day, and we're going to see what they got.
Hopefully they got it.
Hopefully they got
Hopefully they figure it out. I'm holding on hope.
Michael, it has been an hour. Do you have anything to say before we take off, sir?
go visit 2dumyinzers.com for all things 2 Dumb Yinzers.
There you go. I think that we're going to be starting Mitch Trubisky. I think that's no brainer.
Oh yeah, he's starting.
You know, I know that everybody has opinions out there. However, if you looked at all three of these players who all played well in the preseason, Mitch looks the most comfortable in his skin in a game time situation. Kenny, you know, he still has the rookie look, which he could probably sort of be just fine. But you have the guy Mitch Trubisky, who has playoff appearances while playing with the Bears. This guy did decent things. He was a high draft pick. So believe in Mitch, everybody. I think that Mitch is going to go in there and do an all right job. I think he will be the next number one. I think Kenny will be number 2, and I think Mason will be number 3.
Yep.
Whether you agree with me or not, that is my opinion.
I think that's how it's going to shake out too.
And you know what, everybody, get excited because, you know, like I said, I don't know what it is, 12 days, 11 days from now, it's going to be time. Maybe get that terrible towel out. Maybe get out the Steeler jersey, go out and buy your new Steeler jersey, do what you had to do because, you know what, the team needs us, guys. We are important. And you know what? The football gods, they'll tell you.
They will.
But hey, go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, go get your George Pickens jersey because that man is good. He's George Pickens. My man is going to be steamrolling people all year long.
Yes, they you know, like I said, they come home. They're going to need us. They're going to come home and be playing the Patriots in a couple of weeks. So, you know, get out there, be loud, be proud, fill that stadium up, and let's help them bring home this win.
Yes.
But like I said, a lot of things have to happen between then. But this is everything for us today. It's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed our show. Today was the final cut down of the roster to get the Pittsburgh Steelers down to 53 players. So now they're ready. They're ready to get out there and start getting ready for the first weeks. But for Ryan and Mike and the 2 Dumb Yinzers, we'll see you tomorrow.
See ya.